Okay, here goes nothing. Okay, I was challenged to do 10 videos in 10 days to start my channel. And I actually set this channel up a couple of years ago when I was planning on doing a YouTube channel, and kind of thought about it and then never really did anything except set up the name and everything. So the name of my channel is A Work in Progress. I set this channel up before some significant events in my life that took place. Sorry, I'm in my car, as you can see. I decided I might do it here because right now my house is a mess. Anyways. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened that was traumatic and long and hard to decide to talk to in the middle of the crisis. So talk about something you know or something that you've gone through that you can maybe help somebody else with. So in April of 2023, I was diagnosed with diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had gone to the doctor probably 6 or 7 times complaining of pain in my side and my back, and it was sort of boo-hooed and you're fine, you know. She did the push on your stomach kind of thing, but she didn't run any tests. She did run a test at one point for a bladder infection, which I did have. But in the same time frame, like 3 months prior to me starting to really have a problem with this, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I think it was in November of 2022, I think is when that was. And so I was working on that and going to the doctor frequently for blood work and not blood work. I don't know what she was doing. She wasn't doing the blood work that would discover what I had, but just checking my A1C, that type of thing. And also helping me with, what I need to do diet-wise, although I did the opposite of what she did and was reversing it. So anyways, that's a whole nother story. But at any rate, what ended up happening was after several months of going to the doctor, I'd say from like December through December until I guess I went into the hospital April 10th. I was going to the doctor and I was asking, something is wrong, something is not right. I was tired all the time. I ran my own business, and so I'm a workhorse when it comes to work. I was working 10, 12 hours a day prior to this and having no issues, and gung-ho, I'm doing my dream. And all of a sudden I was working for 3 hours and taking a nap because I was so tired. I couldn't figure it out, and I was slow, and I was being sloppy with my work. Not sloppy as in didn't care, but just didn't have the energy to do it. And so I was a recruiter, and I had several jobs on my desk that I was working on, and I was failing at all of them, which is not like me. And so I was just like, what am I doing? So one day a friend said to me, you need to go seek a second opinion. You need to go to another doctor's office and talk to somebody else. And so I was like, and he suggested I go to the emergency room. I'm like, I'm not going to the emergency room. And so I didn't originally. So about a week or so after he had suggested I go to the emergency room, I about passed out in Safeway. That's a store in our area. And I sat down, and I thought it was just a diabetic episode. Oh, it's just my diabetes. I didn't eat before I left. It's just low sugar or something. Something was off. So, in fact, I even asked the grocery guy, would you get me a little bit of orange juice to kind of up my, do something to help fix what was going on. And that seemed to work. I drank a little bit of orange juice, sat there for a few minutes, and went home. About 3 days later, I was in my kitchen, and I had that same feeling, and I was like, this is just, something's just not right. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I live alone. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I drank some orange juice. I ate something, and I was fine. I still wasn't feeling good, and I was still very tired. The next day was Monday, April 10th, 2023. And I got up. I was doing my meeting for, I have a group of colleagues that we do a weekly, actually twice a week, we would get on and have a meeting and just kind of push each other along, because we're all solo recruiters, and it takes some, and we learn things from each other, that kind of thing. Anyways, I got on early with one of my colleagues, and we were talking, and she says to me, and we're on Zoom, okay? You can't really see people very well on Zoom. She's like, "Are you okay, Kimberly? You don't look very good." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm a little under the weather, but, I'm fine." And as we went through the meeting, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, shit. I got off the call. It was about a 45-minute call. And I thought, I don't have any interviews right now. I don't have anything lined up for the rest of this day other than doing some sourcing. Maybe I should go to the emergency room and get whatever this is checked out. If people think I look sick, there's definitely something wrong. So I go to the emergency room. I go in, and I was fortunate. It was a Monday, and there weren't very many people there, which the emergency room that I went to is always packed, and it's usually a long, long wait. But there was only 2 people in front of me, so I took a seat, waited, went back, talked to this doctor. He looked at me, asked me some questions. And one of the things that I had been doing in trying to reverse my diabetes was losing weight. And I had dropped about 50 pounds in 4 months. And so I just thought I was doing a really good job. I mean, right? I'm just doing a really awesome job. I've got this keto thing, and I wasn't really doing straight keto, but I was working on doing keto, and I was, limiting my meals and eating in a window and all those things, right? Trying to do what I'm supposed to do to get this weight to drop and to lower my blood sugars. And so the doctor's like, okay. And then he asked another question. I don't remember what it was, about sleep, and then a few other questions. And then he's like, so I want to run a couple tests. I'm like, okay, do whatever. I need to get this figured out. So they took some blood, and they did an x-ray, because I was complaining of pain in my side and my back. I thought I had maybe a kidney infection or something, or anything like that. I had no thought in my mind that it might be cancer. And so I'm sitting in this little room. It was weird, because usually when you go to the emergency room at this particular hospital, you end up in a row of beds that are just separated by curtains. And instead, I was in this little room behind the actual emergency room. And the doctor, I'm in a parking lot, so there's a lot going on. So this doctor comes back, and he says, "Your doctor didn't run any tests?" And I'm like, "No. I mean, I think a urinalysis, when I finally demanded that she do one, because I thought maybe I had a bladder infection." And he goes, "Well, the first thing you need to do is fire that doctor." I'm like, "Oh." He goes, "And the second thing I need to tell you is you have graduated to a room." And I'm like, "A room? What do you mean?" And when he said that, "You've graduated to a room," those are the words he used. And I was like, "Well, I have a dog at home. I can't really stay." And he kind of looked at me, he goes, "No, you need to stay. So, do you have somebody who can go take care of your dog for you?" And I'm like, "Well, I have a friend I can call." So I called my friend. They moved me into a room in the observation room there at the hospital. And I called my friend, and she went and got my dog and took her. Little did I know that it was going to be more than an overnight. I went from going in thinking I had just a little infection to we need to run some tests. And they weren't really telling me why or what it was. They were just saying, we need to run these tests. By the third day, I was like, can I just go home? I mean, I just really want to go home. And the doctor came in, because I had said that to the nurse. I'm like, I don't understand. Nobody's really telling me what's going on. And I really would like to go home. And that was me just being like a little antsy about, being stuck in a hospital. But I got to tell you, they had all the stuff that was making my back feel better. And I mean, it was actually better for me to be there and have somebody helping me, because I was not doing what I needed to be doing physically, because I was just too tired. And so, gosh, seems like a long story, but then what happened was the doctor came in and he said, I don't know yet because we don't have all the results back, but what I believe is that we are dealing with a form of cancer, and I can't release you to go home because we need to run these tests, and the only way we're going to get these tests done in a timely fashion is for me to work you in between everybody else that has scheduled appointments. So, and then he goes, the other thing I'm a little concerned about for you is your insurance. Your insurance, you're not in network. You're not a Providence patient, but you are on Medicaid because, kind of a backstep, I had had cancer 3 years prior, and I had got put on Medicaid for that cancer diagnosis. That fortunately was taken care of with surgery. But I was still on the Medicaid because I wasn't at my financial situation wasn't keeping me off of it. Anyways, so what happened was I'm like, okay. He goes, so you need to call your insurance and see if they can flip you over to Providence. And I'm like, okay. So I get on the phone with my insurance people and I tell them what's going on and that I have to, that they're needing to run all these tests. And the gal was awesome, because the doctor said, they may not switch it until the end of the month. But you can call and try. He goes, but my concern is you're going to be hit with a bunch of bills when all of this is said and done, because I still had they did an MRI and a CAT scan and all these things. I don't even remember all of them. I have it all written down. And but so then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I don't really know what's going on. So I'm a believer. So I prayed and I'm like, okay, I don't really know what's going to happen, how things, and I just have to trust that God's in control, and we're just going to get through this one way or another, whether that's, we're able to fix it or I go to heaven. One of the two is the options, right? That there's not really any in between. So, the insurance people were great. They actually did a really great thing for me. They changed my insurance and they retroactivated it. Did I say that right? I'm not even going to try. You know what I'm trying to say. They backdated it for 3 days, so everything was covered. Then I was moved to the cancer ward upstairs the next day, and they started prepping me for chemotherapy. I was there for a total of 9 days. I had chemotherapy I think it wasn't the last day, it was the day before I left. I had chemotherapy, and then they watched me I had chemotherapy over the course of 2 days, because they give the first dose just to see how you're going to respond. I'm allergic to one of the medications that they use in the thing, so they had to switch things up a little bit for me. And so we did that. And then I had to come back the next day. Well, here I am. I'm single. I have a dog. My friend is watching, and my dog is not doing well because she does not do well when she's separated from me. She's very much a little mama's girl. Anyways, so I go through the first chemotherapy in the hospital, in my hospital room. They put in a PICC line in my arm, And one day, and then the next day they started the chemotherapy, and then the day after that they did the next chemotherapy, and then the next day they released me, and they made me go get a shot before I left, because you have to either get a shot or come back and take 10 shots if you don't get it the day right after, this medication that's part of the chemotherapy. It's called R-CHOP, and I don't have all of the information in front of me. At any rate, so I went home, and I had all this medicine to take, all these different things, and I was sitting there when I got home, and I was weak, and I was like, okay, now what? And then I'm looking at all this medication. I didn't even know how to take it all. I didn't know time frames, when to do what. I mean, they had written some stuff down, but none of it made sense. And so I got on the phone and I called the nurse, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I've got all this medicine. I don't even know how I'm supposed to take it. So she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. She goes, they should have put this all down in a format for you to. So she went over everything with me on the phone, and she was very kind and kind of went over things. And then I had another person who, doctor, who called me and talked to me about things, and just all very, very, very good. But here I was now, home by myself. I had not prepared to be gone for 9 days. I had my niece had gone to my house and done some cleaning for me and cleaned out the refrigerator. So there was really not much there as far as for something to eat or anything, but I wasn't hungry anyways. Everything tastes like metal, and anything that you ate, even water, was hard to swallow because everything had this weird metallic taste to it. So the first night I'm home, it's like 2 or 3 a.m. I don't remember which. And I get up in the middle of the night, and I had bought green popsicles, lemon lime popsicles, just before I went in the hospital. It was hot. And I'm sitting in my living room at 3 o'clock in the morning eating a popsicle. And I probably ate 2 of them in the middle of the night. My friend still had my dog, but I needed to go pick it up the next day, go pick her up. Or they may have even brought her to me. I think they brought her to me. But at any rate, that was how it all started. I want people to know, and the reason I tell this story, because it's kind of crazy to be telling my story about getting cancer, is my doctor didn't believe me. My doctor, basically, without rolling her eyes, was rolling her eyes every time I was telling her I wasn't feeling good. What am I trying to say? The constant pain, the pushing, blood cancer, which is what I can't even speak. Lymphoma is a blood cancer. It's a type of blood cancer. And you're not going to feel it the way that you feel like a pain in your side. It's not the same because the blood moves, right? So if you think there's something wrong, if you are not feeling well, if you are having symptoms that don't make sense, if you're completely, things are just not the way they normally are, and you feel like there's something off, and your doctor doesn't listen to you and says, oh, you're fine. It's probably a bug that's going around like for 5 months. I mean, I was literally having a difficult time for quite some time. So if that's you, go get a second opinion. It really is important to go and see a completely different doctor. I purposely went to a hospital, to an emergency room, because I had emergency room, no matter where. It could be out of network and it would be covered. I went to a different emergency room aligned with a different hospital than what I was supposed to go to. And I did that purposely because the people that I was talking to weren't listening to me. And so I wanted a fresh opinion, because a friend of mine said, go get a second opinion. And I'm like, well, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. How do you go get a second opinion? And I learned, you find a way. You find a way to know that what's going on with you isn't right, doesn't feel right, and you need help. You need somebody to listen to you. Hopefully, your situation is not as drastic as mine. You're not facing cancer, but what if you've got something else, you know? You just really need to go talk to somebody who's going to listen. And if that person doesn't listen, you talk to somebody else and you just figure it out. You find a way. It's difficult. Sorry, I got this weird hair that's hanging down. That says my hair is finally growing out. I had no hair for quite some time, and it's finally at a decent length. But I say all this, you know, I was watching another video today, which is why I'm doing this video, and I'll explain that later down the road. But I was challenged to, you know, come online, tell my story or share what I want to start my YouTube channel, and just to do it. And I'm sure this is not the best quality video you've ever watched, or no high tech here. I'm not high tech. I'm in my 50s. I don't know anything of high tech. But I do want people to know that there are people out there that will listen to you, and there are people out there that will support you. I'll talk more about that stuff in a later video, but for now, I just want you to know doctors are not always right, and sometimes they're flat out wrong. Sometimes they're flat out negligent. And that's something else I've been trying to figure out. You know, as a Christian, do you sue somebody? Do you go after them? I mean, Non-Hodgkin, this particular disease or cancer that I had, is very treatable with the right treatment. It's very treatable, very curable. But you only have so much time for that to work. Had I waited much longer, it might have been too late. It's a very fast, aggressive cancer that usually people within a year are gone. If it doesn't get caught, they're just gone. There's not a lot of options. But when caught, which this particular cancer, because of how it presents, is often caught in late stages. I was stage 4. It was already in my organs. It was in my spleen. And once it starts going into your organs, you know, it's very bad. So, and my doctor didn't tell me all that, you know. In some ways, I'm thankful. In other ways, I'm like, my oncologist should have been more forthright with me when I asked direct questions. And I think that her thought process was that if I wasn't thinking it was so bad, that I would have a good outlook and I would be better. But it would have been better to have known how bad it really was, which I didn't really know how bad it was until I saw my first PET scan against my last PET scan. And then I was like, holy moly, you know. So it was pretty bad. But I say all this because I want people to know, if you're sick, if you're not feeling good, get a second opinion, especially if you are being told that there's nothing wrong with you and they haven't run any tests. They haven't done anything to rule anything out. My doctor didn't do one thing to rule out that there was something wrong with me other than push on my stomach and say I was fine. That is not a diagnosis, because it's just not. Anyways, I hope this finds you well, but if you are somebody who's struggling, you're not feeling well, it's a constant and you don't know what to do, go get a second opinion. And I hope and pray that your outcome is as good as mine. I've been in remission since September 6th of 2023. Yeah, it's 24. Yeah, 2023. So it's been a little over a year. And I'm just now getting the gumption to you know, share my story with more than just a few family and friends. I will have more later. Have a great day. Bye.